Hello everybody and welcome to today's review of Nomadland. It is the new film directed by Chloé Zhao starring Frances McDormand. The film is about a middle-aged woman named Fern. At the beginning of the film, we learned that Fern just recently lost her husband, and because of an economic downturn, she ended up losing her house as well. And because she is left with little to no other option, she decides to pack up her things and live as a nomad. For those of you who don't know, a nomad is somebody who constantly wanders the world with little possessions. Not to say that they are homeless per se. They're just people who don't have a permanently fixed address because they are constantly on the go. They never stay in the same place for a long period of time. In this film, we see Fern adjusting to this new lifestyle. She lives in a van, she travels across the country meeting all sorts of people and supports herself financially by taking various odd jobs, such as working for Amazon. Now, this has been one of the most critically acclaimed films of the year. Now, after watching this film, would I say that it deserves a lot of the acclaim that it's received? To a certain degree, I would. But I'm warning you right now, it's not for everyone, and I'll explain why. But first, let's start off with the positives of this film. First of all, this is a beautifully shot film. The film takes us through various places throughout America, but mostly in Middle America. So we see lots of deserts, lots of mountains, and the director of photography did a fantastic job at photographing these settings using natural lighting. I could tell that this film is heavily influenced by Terrence Malick. For those of you who don't know who Terrence Malick is, he is an independent art house filmmaker who is known for films such as Days of Heaven, The Thin Red Line, The New World, and The Tree of Life. And like his films, this film is very grounded in spirituality and focuses on characters who are trying to find some kind of connection to nature. And I'm a sucker for those kind of films. And what I also appreciate about this film is Frances McDormand's performance. She does a fantastic job in this film. It kind of reminded me of Manchester by the Sea. It's very subdued and very subtle. She doesn't do a lot, she doesn't say a lot, but she doesn't have to. And she is very good at internalizing a lot of the struggles that this character is going through. She's obviously going through a grieving process because she just lost her husband. And as we see this character transition from place to place, we start to learn more and more about her. And we see that while she is the adventurous type, she is still holding on to certain things that is making it more difficult for her to move on with her life. And that's what the aim of her character is. She is trying to let go of her past and finally live a life of her own, free from a stressful life, free from her past, and just focusing on the life that's ahead of her. As Fern travels the country, she becomes involved in a community of nomads, and these nomads are actually portrayed by actual nomads. And my favorite part of the film is when these nomads were sharing their life experiences with Fern. And I found those stories to be emotionally resonating. This is a very well written film. The characters are set up in a way that they feel real to you. And what I think Chloé Zhao has done, not only as a director but as a writer, she was able to create a story that feels genuinely authentic and also in a way that tries to show an honest perspective of a very different lifestyle. So in that regard, this is a very unique film. However, the film does become gratuitous in its overusage of establishing shots. Like really, there are scenes where we're lingering on a beautiful shot for long periods of time that the film starts to drag. And remember that part where I said that this film was heavily influenced by Terrence Malick? Terrence Malick also does the same thing. He is so focused on the visual aspect of the film that the narrative becomes lost. And speaking of narrative, this film doesn't feel like a narrative. It feels more like a documentary. Nomadland reminded me of another film that I saw 2 years ago called Honeyland. Honeyland is a documentary, but when I watched it, it felt like a feature film. Now with Nomadland, I feel the exact opposite. It's a feature film that feels more like a documentary. That's also because of the usage of real nomads in the film. Because they were non-professional actors, whenever they were interacting with Frances McDormand's character, it felt like the lines were just read to her. I like what they're saying, but because of the way they are delivering these lines, I feel like we're losing the emotional impact that we were supposed to get from these scenes. So in a nutshell, I would say that Nomadland is a well-shot, well-directed, and well-written film with a great performance by Frances McDormand. However, the film suffers greatly from pacing issues, and in terms of tone, it feels very uneven. But not to say that this is a bad film. As a matter of fact, I regard this as one of the best of the year. But like I said, it is not for everyone. I feel like you have to have a great appreciation for art house cinema and a tremendous amount of patience in order to get through this film. Cinephiles will definitely like this film, but as to a general audience, probably not so much. But still, it is a very good film and I highly recommend it. So I'm going to give Nomadland a B+. Thanks for watching my video, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you down the road.